You can also write to us at P.O. Box 19549, Austin, Texas 78760. Again, P.O. Box 19549, Austin, Texas 78760. And we certainly appreciate all of that support. Let me get into some good news on the police state front first, and then I'll get into the really bad news. But the bad news is even good news, because now this is all more and more out in the open. We can actually have a debate about it and warn people. And remind me, listeners, callers, if after I take your calls, if I don't get into it, I just briefly wanted to talk about this. Later this afternoon, we're going to post a 15-minute video at prisonplanet.tv, but also on the Alex Jones channel for everybody, of my breakdown of Glenn Beck. To oversimplify, you know, when I've said I didn't really watch Glenn Beck, and now we're watching him, and I've got a different view. To be specific, we watched him quite a bit, off and on, and watched YouTube boil downs and read what he'd said, and I'd listen to the radio once a week or so. So there's no doubt this is a different Glenn Beck than was there 3 years ago, 2 years ago, or even 6 months ago. Yesterday, he talked about 500 Homeland Security mobile vans that fire high-powered radiation through your walls, dwarfing a chest X-ray. And he said how horrible this was in Total Big Brother. This is when I walked into the coffee room where we monitor him each day, because it's right by Jacobson's office. Jacobson's in there taking notes. And he was just writing notes. It was word for word what we covered 2 weeks ago. Word for word. Our interpretation, our take, word for word. Then he went on to say the government's creating secret list of citizens they want to secretly kill. This is horrible, he said. But he said Obama is giving you the 500 X-ray machines looking through your walls. He said Obama is creating lists of citizens to kill, which I guess technically is true. It's the Obama administration, but all of this was started decades ago. It's now coming to a head, so that's the big kicker. And so we know Beck's people monitor the show and load his teleprompter with everything I cover, word for word. So get it right, okay? Obama's horrible. He's terrible. He's a globalist reading off a teleprompter, just like you are. But you're fighting the globalists more and more. But stop making everybody think that Obama did all of this, because as soon as a Republican gets back in, we're going to be here. Hopefully, I'll still be alive or on air. I know others will still be around. They can't get everybody. And we're going to be saying, wait a minute, you said naked body scanners were bad. You said these systems scanning people's homes were bad. And obviously they are. It's dwarfs 1984. You had better cover this. See, they're making the whole global government about Obama and a few unsavory professors like Cass Sunstein. And whereas they are villains, they're junior villains. And so that's still the big blind spot. And let me tell you something, Glenn Beck's as sharp as a razor blade, and so are his writers and the giant crew he's got. And they know full well what they're doing. So there's no doubt, in summation, the Republican Party knows that the Patriot movement's documented world government. They can't deny it's real anymore. And so they're going to say, oh, yes, we're fighting world government. It's the Democrats. And I will say the Democrats, you know, they drive the bus off the cliff at 150 miles an hour, and the Republicans do it at about 100. But I'd rather have it drive off the cliff of 150, because people wake up under snotty-nosed Obama and Rahm Emanuel. They go to sleep under a Republican. So all the gains we've made in the accelerated awakening, where is that going to go when the Republicans are back in power? I mean, are they going to repeal all this Obama stuff? Only if we keep their feet to the fire. So that's what I'm saying. People say, well, why are you reporting on Glenn Beck every other day? The guy reaches 10 to 15 million people a week with his radio show and TV show combined. That's conservative. Okay, the guy is an icon now. I mean, let's just be honest about it. And he's taking my material and using it. And I wouldn't have a problem with that if he wasn't behind the scenes telling people don't do interviews on Alex's show and trying to block me. But I guess he feels like, you know, if I break through, and of course we have more viewers on the web and more listeners and dwarf his different websites together with Infowars and Prison Planet. But on television and mainstream radio, he just completely eclipses us. I'd say by an order of 10. On the web, we dominate Beck. And that's why we're driving with the young people and the new generation and a large cross-section of general society as well, but particularly young people, the change, so they have to report on it. But it is a weird feeling to have what I do taken and then changed and twisted and regurgitated back out to the point of I get emails saying, you're copying Glenn Beck. Well, no, we don't copy anything Glenn Beck does. I do like the same style, though. You know, in the old days, you watch videos from Alex Jones 10 years ago, you'd see me with a sports jacket, a white shirt, and a rep tie. So, I mean, I was planning to actually dress like that for 3 years on the TV studio I've been planning. Question is, now they'll say I'm copying Glenn Beck. But I guess in that case, it will be true. The same taste on clothing. But I don't know. I'm done talking about it. It's strange to say I'm going to make a movie about the co-opting of the Tea Party and then to in-depth start watching Beck. And by the way, we've gone back and watched shows from just a year ago. People are saying, well, Alex, you weren't intensely watching. He was always like this. No, he wasn't. No, he wasn't. He was for the Patriot Act, for torture, for banker bailouts. Now he's against all of that. And so I'm pleased that you, the audience of this show predominantly, has forced Beck and Limbaugh to a great extent. Limbaugh's admitting that the government wants to destroy the economy to make you dependent now. Savage is talking about fluoride being put in the water to give you cancer. I mean, there are changes. And I've been listening to Savage almost every week for 6, 7 years, and I can tell you he's gotten more hardcore. You didn't hear Michael Savage say the government may blow up buildings to set up martial law. He says that every week now. I mean, I randomly listen driving into work and driving home, and Savage is on when I'm driving home at 6 or 7 every night, and I'll listen maybe 2 or 3 times a week, and I just randomly turn it on, and it's fluoride's going to give you cancer by design. You know, they're poisoning the vaccines. The government may stage terror attacks. The Republicans are controlled by the same mega banks. So more than just Alex Jones pushing Beck to be more hardcore, I hear Savage kind of get angry about Limbaugh, particularly Sean Hannity now, and Beck stealing what he covers. And listening to Savage, I can say he's original. He doesn't need our information. He already knows what's going on. These guys are all real smart. Savage is probably the smartest. Well, not probably. He's clearly the smartest of the bunch. Because I know history, I know medicine, I've done a lot of research across the wide spectrum. And let me tell you, Savage knows what he's talking about. And overall, it just shows the fact that this information is so widespread now that none of these guys can ignore it and stay relevant. But bottom line, there's a big video coming out later this afternoon that'll be on Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com where we really put it on the line for Beck and say, hey, we challenge you to get more hardcore. You've gotten a lot better. We don't trust you, though. Let's see you go all the way. Because I can't sit here and say, Beck, stop covering up all this stuff, and then he starts covering it, and then I'm still saying, oh, I hate Glenn Beck. I'm not endorsing Glenn Beck. Let's be clear about that. I'm not saying I trust him as far as I could throw him. What I'm saying is he's going in an encouraging direction. He's going in a very encouraging direction. And I'm telling you, in less than a year, if he continues to get more hardcore every week, he'll have his blood vessels bulging out on his temples, screaming, they want you dead. I mean, this whole week he's talking about the UN wanting to reduce world population by 80%, and he's only reading their own documents that we covered over a decade ago. This is very exciting. It's all covered in my film Endgame, by the way. Get 4 copies for $19.95, Infowars.com.